starting streaming, starting recording. So basically what I'm going to do is slowly go through all parts of Ariana and essentially skin her. I know, sounds real bad.
It really does sound like the opposite of what it was.
Yeah, kind of, right? Because you're actually not, I don't know what you're, skinning, unwrapping, if you say skin, it would make sense if it was unwrapping.
Yes.
Like, that would make sense. And then, like, this should be called rigging, maybe? Rigging? Oh, okay. So, like, if I go to her head, you'll see, like, it's affecting her hair. So I'm going to select her hair. And where's that little thing? Just remove that influence. And I want her head bone to basically affect her entire head. Like, so I don't think there's any part of her head that I don't want to affect. So I'm just going to hit 1 on that. Oh, one thing I forgot to say is if I don't have an eraser, do I? Who nicks erasers? Like, that's actually crazy. We had 3 here. It's on there. We had 3.
Such a weird thing to want.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think people just play with them and then throw them around. Okay, so every bone can have a maximum influence of 1. So 0 is not influenced at all. 1 is influenced. Every bone must have an influence, at least. And every bone must have an influence, and every bone can only have a maximum of 1. So if this bone, or this vertex, let's say this vertex is between 2 bones, right? And this little point, it's 0.5 to this one and 0.5 to this one. If I select this bone and tell it to go like 0.8 to that one, I need to then remove it from here. So this one goes to 0.2. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah. Like, it has to share the ratio. It always has to. And then obviously if this is 1, it must go 0 to that one and it won't be affected by that one anymore. So if a vertex is being affected by 2, I select one of the bones, set it to 1, it will now no longer be affected by that. Because the maximum any vertex can have is 1. If I select a vertex, let me just select 1. I'll turn off the select element so I can select just 1 vertex. So if I just select a vertex here, let's say on the chest, it will show you on the weight tool to the left, it shows you exactly what it's being affected by. And I chose a specifically complicated one, and you can see it's being affected by all these freaking bones. Whereas if I click the one on the head that I just set to, it's affected, it can be affected by those 4, but it's only being affected by the cat rig head. It's 1 to the cat rig head, right? So every time you select, every time you make a selection, it will tell you what bones it can be set to, and it will tell you the ratio of each of them. And you can just select them from here as well. You don't have to go and click them in the scene. Cool. So that's going to be the 1. I'm going to do the ears to 1. The neck is going to affect this one to 1. So that's the arm. And let me just see what other parts. Cool. Here. All right. Cool. So here, I'm not sure what's happening here down in the legs, but the leg is blue. See the way when I select it, it's blue on her thigh area, and that's not what I want. I wanted that leg to like grab those parts. So I'm not sure what other bone is affected. Okay, the pelvis seems to be affecting it a lot. So I'm just going to select these. Oh, sugar. I still have an element on. Select these, set them to 0, and they should be a lot more influence now by my thigh bone. Come on, thigh bone. A bit more. So essentially, this is kind of like what you have to do. Slowly go through frickin' everything, and slowly make sure that the bones are not affecting vertices you don't want them to affect. Which is why animation is a pain in the hole. Now, I will say, if you can get this working, if you get good at this, there's an entire job called a rigger that does exactly this all day. Some people love it. There's an entire job called unwrapping. Like, you know, there's entire people who just do unwrapping. There's entire people who do texturing. Texturing is fun, but like texturing's fun, but unwrapping is not.
Yeah.
Like, as in, someone will go and do all the cut seams and peeling and shit, and we'll give it to texture. The texture just textures. It's a bit more than coloring.
Yeah, I know. But like,
What I was told when you first start off in, it wasn't my experience. I started off as a modeler, but I was indie so indie is a lot easier to start. What I was told is if you are starting off in AAA, one of the basic 3D jobs is lighting. So it's a very common thing they'll get you to do is lighting, because you kind of understand how 3D lighting works, which you all kind of know from Unity, like. Yeah, so it's a very basic job, and then you work your way up from there.
how old were you when you first got your first modeling job?
What?
Okay.
3D modeling was, I did a physics undergrad, so it was basically after the masters, and that was with Owen, who taught me, and Bismuth. That was my first 3D modeling as an indie, and then I also did other freelance work while I was with them.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's how I also started teaching. #sad. I'm ahead of what?
Ahead of this in like 2 years. Now from the bottom, now we do it.
Oh yeah, I am the head of games here, aren't I?
We're not even here when we existed here.
I taught the year above you, which is the weird thing.
Yeah.
I skipped your year. It wasn't my decision. I don't know what happened. Maybe they got someone else. I actually don't know. Why am I talking about this?
What did you do for the fourth year?
I just did design practice with them. So, like Photoshop stuff.
Oh, so we had Ralph instead of you, and then the year below us had. No, not all.